welcome to the greatest of all time. We had a little hiatus, but we're back.
A long hiatus, not a little hiatus.
A little bit. I'm Cody Springer.
I'm Steve Osborn.
And today's episode is Sitcoms.
Work, just a lot of jive. I'm never gonna work me a 9 to 5. Tell the boss man I said goodbye, and I'm never gonna work another day of my life. I hate work. Yeah, I do hate work. You should too hate work.
Let's start it out. Let's get the show rolling. Number 10, we went with Saved by the Bell. This was a late addition to the list.
Little before school and the morning show, I think, for everybody.
Every time you hear the theme song of that, that's instantly what you think of too. Like, the bus will be here in 10. I can watch 10 minutes of this.
To me, nothing screams the 90s more than the intro, the theme song to Saved by the Bell with its colors and shapes everywhere.
It's like a triangle, a neon green triangle.
Yeah. And then like AC Slater would come in with like a half mesh shirt on, like a tank top mesh shirt, and then you didn't think anything of it. Hey, preppy.
Yeah, when you went to school, did you see anyone with that, like, hey, look, there's...
No, because you would beat them.
Yeah. He would have not been the cool guy, like, hey, AC, he'd have been like, hey, get him! Yeah.
But yeah, there's a great cat, like Zach, AC, Lisa Turtle, Screech,
come on.
Mr. Belding.
Which Screech is a porn star now.
Jesse. Or if you... no,
yes,
I wouldn't go that far.
Well,
he needs money.
He was in one.
He needs some money.
Star stretching it, but he was in one.
Well, who was Jesse before Jesse in the first season? It was the weird curly-haired girl. Do you remember her?
Okay, Mickey, what's your problem?
Yeah, I don't remember what her... I don't even remember her.
Or maybe she ends up back here. Yeah. Well, the whole time we're talking about her, like, I can't put my finger on it.
What was it? Yeah, that's number 10, Saved by the Bell. Great show. Great theme. You'll notice most of these songs, most of the shows that have made this list have pretty amazing theme songs.
Yeah, that weighed heavily on my decision right now.
It's a big decision. So,
number 9, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I actually didn't even have that on my list, and I had about 35 of them. Not that I didn't like the show, I just didn't have it on my list initially, but that was Steve's pick, and it was a great show.
It's outstanding, man. I mean, everybody knows the Carl thing.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows
that. To me is what the show, like when the first thing pops into your head when you think of the show. After the theme song.
Right, I was saying, because the theme song's first. Of course, again, going back to theme songs, so it's one of the greatest ones. That's probably one of the greatest of all time out of drama, sitcom.
Possibly.
I mean, it's just a great theme song.
Everybody knows all the words to it.
And the good thing about Fresh Prince was, like, it was like super funny to me anyway. But it also had, like, I mean, all these do, but it had, like, its serious one, like, Carlton's got AIDS. Like, oh my god. I don't remember that. Well, all right, let's move on then. Fresh Prince, great show. Number 8, this was Cody's pick. Did not make my list, but it is a great show, and it was Roseanne.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little earlier. We talked about some of the funnier parts of Roseanne, which I will say this. One of the funniest episodes of that ever, I remember, was the one where she finds the weed.
Yes,
and she swears up and down that it's David's.
Yeah.
And then they smoke it in the bathroom, and her sister comes.
Well, Jackie ends up in the tub, and there's like a long scene between her and Jackie. Yeah. And then like after they leave, it was like a 10-minute long thing, and she's just like, hey, and she's in the tub the whole time.
That's probably one of the best episodes that I. That's one of
that a very special episode? They were on the weeds.
I remember it very. I don't know why.
Yeah, that was a good one. I think everybody always remembers when DJ first figured out how to pleasure himself, and Darlene said,
which either means he's really, really good at it. Really, really bad at it.
All right, number 7. This one probably might be unexpected for some people, but it's a great show.
I don't think it is.
Great show, Golden Girls.
Yeah. Out of everybody who's going to watch this show that we're doing now, I mean, all 4 of you are Golden Girls fans. I know that. I know Josh Dickerson. I know you're a fan of Golden Girls.
If you look down there, it says 1 million views.
Oh, yes.
It may be a couple zeros.
But we added that. And that's 10 views. And 5 of those are from me. God, I'm fat.
4 old women from Miami living together. You wouldn't think that would be a good concept for a show? Absolutely hilarious.
Well, the nice part about the Golden Girls was it was balanced. You had, like, the ditz. You had, like, the mature one who was, like, kind of held everything together. And then you had the slut
and the sassy,
and then you had the sassy. It was just like a perfect comment. Like if you could get a group of friends together, that would be the group you put together. Like I want this group of people together to hold it together.
Fun fact too: Estelle Getty was younger than B. Arthur, which doesn't make any sense. She looked like she was 50 years old.
Yeah. All right, moving on up. We didn't put that on the list. Number 6. Number 6 is Cheers.
Theme song. Maybe the best of all time.
It is. It's a good one, man.
And even I love the old style look to it.
Right.
It was like an old,
like a barley corn, like whatever you call that style. Yeah. Yeah, it was very cool.
Fantastic group of characters. Yeah. And we're like a great concept anyway. Just like, hey, it's in the bar.
It's a bar.
Just the bar.
And people come in, they talk about their problems.
Yeah.
You know. You had you had your normal people who were always there, then you had like a stranger who would pop in. Yeah. Sometimes it would be a celebrity, sometimes it was just Joe Schmo, but it's just like any other bar you go to.
Cliff Clavin.
Yeah.
Frazier.
Yeah. Norm.
Yeah. Woody. Like when you think of Ted Danson, that is absolutely the first thing that you would think of when you think of Ted Danson.
Saddest is to say it would be that or Becker. But I got you. I like the chicken Becker.
The Cheers to me is like I always remember it as like that was the show that my whole family watched together on Thursday nights on NBC. Like
what was upstairs? A restaurant? A spaghetti restaurant?
Yeah.
Like an Italian restaurant. Was
it was like a guy's name or something like Luigi's or whatever,
something like that.
Mario's,
some generic.
Yeah, and they did like occasionally they'd go to the Celtics game or something, and they'd be out there. And then Cliff was on Jeopardy in an episode. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Number 5, Married with Children. That I remember when that show first came out, my dad used to tell us we couldn't watch it because it was rated R. And I remember
it probably should have been.
It should have been. I was pretty young when it came out too, but I remember there being some, like maybe forbiddenness hanging over that one, so I was able to watch it. And I still watched it. I just remember that it always stuck out.
I'm going to say number 5 and number 4 on the list are the 2 shows that made Fox.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Married with Children, definitely. That was the first show, and it was it kind of established like what they were, and it was like we're not afraid to.
We're not NBC, we're not CBS, we're a little raunchy.
Yeah, which I think was probably needed at the time. Like everything was really
stagnant.
Yeah.
Let's state the obvious here. My theme of the night, apparently, Kelly Bundy, Peg Bundy. I'm not kidding.
Yeah,
both, man. I'd have just.
Yeah, it's funny that Al was so disgusted.
Like he hated it.
Yeah,
oh god, not again. Like I've been running up the steps.
I mean, whenever I think of that first, the first thing that pops in my head whenever I think of Married with Children is No Ma'am.
Yeah. I was thinking that the whole time you were talking. Like I'm going to bring that up after he's done talking.
I mean, honestly, it probably was only in maybe 10 episodes.
I'd say the last couple seasons.
Yeah, and they just stuck out to me because it was so fun. What did it even say? I don't even remember this thing for.
National Organization of Men Against Amazonian Masterhood.
They all had the shirts.
It had like the circle with the thing through it. They were all blue shirts. Yeah. I thought about buying one of those, by the way. I should have.
I'll tell you what, I absolutely hated it. I knew that was its jumping the shark moment was when they added the kid. What was it, 7?
Yeah.
And then they just get rid of it too. Like he came on and
7 came and went.
Yeah, and then like the last name was just like and then maybe we killed him.
Well, because remember the dog started talking.
No drawn butter. What do they think I am?
Like you could hear the dog's thoughts.
Oh yeah. Well, I thought you could always do that.
Maybe.
That might have been just like a funny. Where he knew, like I need to get out of here.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Who cares about this list? All right, number 4, Night Court.
Right?
Yeah. It's a great bass line with a saxophone. Like, how do you go wrong there?
I watched that intro the other day. Just kind of going through these shows and forgot how unbelievably cheesy and low, just low quality.
Like it wasn't even standard definition. It was below standard. Like
it was like someone drew a picture of a courthouse and would like hold it up and you could see the fingers around. It was it was so bad.
It was a killer show though.
Yeah, it's a fantastic show.
You had some Dan Fielding that was my favorite, probably one of my favorite characters of television, man.
Who's the girl? Marky Post.
Marky Post, yeah. The blonde, yeah.
Yeah, she was awesome. Well, and then was there another defendant attorney that came in later, or was it always Marky Post? Wasn't there a different one? I think they changed it.
Maybe, like the last 2 seasons.
Or prosecutor. Dan was the defendant, the attorney, and then she was the prosecutor. Yeah, and then
the judge.
Harry Anderson.
Yeah. He was Mel Torme. He was a big Mel Torme guy. He had to...
Yeah, he'd Mel made it on.
Yeah,
show
a couple times. Yeah. And they'd always do like a big New Year's Eve show.
Yeah,
and it'd be like
they try to get everybody in.
To get through 100 different, because Dan was like flying off somewhere, and then the last one, of course, would be the guy with turtleitis.
Yeah,
and he'd be like, "Oh, hold on," and it'd take like 45 minutes.
Yeah,
we used that forever because I remember he like got out like a bunch of cards, and they were like, "This is, isn't it?" And he went, "Oh." Other pocket. We used that forever in my family, by the way.
I think everybody he was all right, but I think that was his one move. I loved it when I was a kid, but I think looking back on it, I was like, okay, he's shocked by him.
Ross.
Yeah, Ross, just the sassy black.
Yeah. Didn't she get shot in an episode?
I think so.
Yeah,
she got like a disease or something, didn't she? Like she came down with like leukemia or something.
Maybe
that was their very special
in the first 2 seasons there was the old lady who was the bailiff.
Yeah, the bailiff. Yeah.
And I think she passed away.
You're right.
And they replaced her. But.
Yeah, and then Ross could have to sass the place.
Yeah, hey, it needed it.
Number 3, Arrested Development. Fantastic show.
It is.
I didn't watch it on its original run, and I probably contributed to why it got canceled, which was horrible with me looking back. Or not, because I do find that maybe the less that you get of a lot of these shows, the better they really are, or at least the better you even remember them.
Yeah, but now they're even trying to come back with that, though. It's a Netflix original.
But I think the thing that you got to have, especially now when we're making a show, is you got to have an idea of where you want to start and where you want to end and get there. Because I think a lot of these shows maybe have some of that and like go to season 5 and then season 6 they're just like, then we bought a ranch. Yeah. Because then it just gets terrible.
Everybody does that, man.
And then they're like, well, your ratings are sagging. Add an extra kid. We'll call him 7. Yeah. And then it just does not work. Whereas Arrested Development just never even got an opportunity to even get popular. So when you go back to them, and you're just like, oh, why didn't I watch this?
Until they bring it back.
Yeah, and it's going to be on Netflix for I think 1 season, and then they're doing a movie, and then that's it too. And they're not going to just be like, "Oh, this was good. We're going to do more." I think they're almost done with the season, and then they're going to start the movie.
That's pretty bad.
Honestly, I think that's what
until it comes on Netflix, and it's like, the ratings are just crazy, and they're like, all right,
I think it'd be hard to get all those guys together to have enough time to do that again. Like they've committed to a season, like Jason Bateman. Will Arnett, David Cross. I think all those guys are doing other stuff too. Jason Bateman. What's
David Cross doing? Besides waiting by the phone.
David Cross is completely like. I saw when I was looking up some Arrested Development stuff the other day. Just some of like pictures of him with the quotes down there, and just like his wording of stuff.
Yeah, I mean he's hysterical.
Yeah, I mean just absolutely hilarious stuff. Did you know he was originally supposed to be Buster? He went in to read for Buster, really? And. I think he played Buster kind of that way, and then they were like, "Oh, I think it would work better here," which is great. I think every one of those people are so perfect in those roles.
Yeah, it's
the Buster's, hey brother.
Yeah. It's a funny show, man. It's hysterical.
And he was always like, that's so funny. The show's great, and it's just full of catchphrases, and I shouldn't find any of that funny, and I find it all funny.
Jason Bateman is. A very underrated comedian actor. I think he's hysterical, by the way.
He may have. He started off on Hogan's Family. So.
Yeah, this is true.
Or no, actually, I think it was Little House on the Prairie. But
they do Team of 2.
That was a low point.
Yeah.
So I think for me, when I think of Arrested Development, I think of the chicken dance.
I think it's a banana stand.
There's always money in the banana stand.
That's what I think of everything.
I'm actually pretty excited because with the new season coming out, I'm going to go back and watch them. And Rochelle hasn't watched any of them. Well, she's watched a few. Like it's on IFC, I think. Yeah. I'll watch it occasionally, but you really don't get the show until you watch it. Like just straightforward.
Sit down and veg out on it for a couple of hours.
Yeah. I love that they always did like last time or next time on, and none of that stuff was ever on there.
Okay, so number 2, we have The Office. Not the American version, but the British version.
British version.
That was huge amongst, I know our group of friends, it was absolutely insanely huge.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we watched every episode probably 30 times.
I remember seeing the commercial for it on ESPN. Very weirdly, I remember just watching that, and then it came on, and it said it was really funny. I rented it from Netflix and watched it from start to finish without break.
Yeah.
And just was like, how in the world did this get past me?
It is hysterical, man. I think we still use 90% of that show.
Yeah.
Like if we're all together, like that comes up every time.
Yeah, I mean, at some point Dickerson's going to go,
yeah.
Monkey! Yeah, the outtakes on that are probably the hardest I've ever laughed in my entire life. Yeah, the show, which I like the American Office. I think it's funny.
I like the first 3 seasons.
The difference to me is the American Office is to me a sitcom. It's more kind of outlandish and like really silly situations, whereas the British Office is
something would actually happen.
Seems so real,
right.
and nobody knew the people when they were, at least when it was done, and especially here in America, nobody knew anybody that was in there. It was like our first time ever even seeing Ricky Gervais. But yeah, it just seemed so realistic that it made it funny, but also like kind of that cringe-worthy awkwardness.
Because they put you in the position to where like when he would say something, you were just like, oh, shut up, man! Like, oh, you're making it worse.
Even I think what stuck out to me was he did a fantastic job, Martin Freeman as Tim, of the glances to the camera, which is that's an art form. I think on the American Office, it's very deliberate. And it's like he looks straight into the camera and gives that look, but I think in the British one, it's kind of just like a glance over where it's you kind of feel his pain.
I think one of the major things about that show was too, it's like we talked about just a second ago, is it stopped.
Yeah,
they were like,
he didn't have a chance to be bad.
Yeah, we're not going to make any more. We're done. Why? Because it's perfect.
Yeah.
Instead of like the American version, to where like, okay, well, we'll add another season where. You know.
Although I did hear the other day that someone told me that they're making a Where Are They Now kind of thing. I don't know if it's going to be a quick 5-minute deal.
Right.
But knowing Ricky Gervais, it should be pretty good because he doesn't really, he knows when to stop for most of that stuff. He's not going to try to milk that. Number 1. No drink.
I apologize.
Number 1, Seinfeld. I think this is probably top for most everybody. If anybody with that kind of sense of humor, which is pretty broad.
Yeah.
There's a lot of smart stuff, a lot of dumb stuff, a lot of slapstick, and a lot of highbrow. It's really the Everman comedy about, they say it's about nothing, but it's really about everything. Yeah. And that's what makes it so great.
One of the things that we talked about when putting this list together was, I told Cody, I said, the way I kind of put my list together was a show that I've seen almost every episode, and I would go back and watch. And I'm sure everyone who's probably watching this is the same way. If Seinfeld comes on, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen every episode, almost guaranteed, and I will watch the same episode over and over again. And I could quote half of it, and we could talk about 50 episodes that I think are hysterical, man.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these shows, going back to them, are dated, and maybe some of the jokes aren't as, like, say, take a Married with Children. If you go back and watch it, they're going to talk about current stuff from that time, and it may not be as funny as it was at the time. But Seinfeld, somehow, I mean, because it's everyday stuff for everyone, it's still just as funny.
Yeah.
And for me, it's how dramatic all the minor characters are in there. I mean, the main 4 obviously are very great, but I think are often overlooked are the one-off characters that were just so funny. Or not even one-offs, like say Peterman. Yeah. Like a guy like Peterman, or Putty. Those 2 guys are just, and it's so over-the-top dramatic on a lot of that stuff about a stick of gum or whatever, a pair of sneakers or just whatever. That is an exclamation point. The one was on the other day. He didn't put the exclamation point on the end of the note. I mean, stuff like that. It's so funny.
I mean, how often in a normal day would you a Seinfeld reference comes about?
Yeah.
I mean, just like a couple days ago, we were talking about the contest. Yeah. And the person I was talking to hadn't seen it, so I was trying to explain, because somebody came by and they were like, "I'm out," and then I lost it, and they were like, "What's that about?" And I was like, "Oh, it's from Seinfeld," but I find it to be one of the funniest episodes.
Which is like 3 minutes after the contest.
Yeah. I mean, it's quick too. Like,
I love it.
It's the way it would be, though.
And I love that they all, like, most of the episodes are taken from Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld's just life, what actually happened to them, and then it mirrors, like, they're trying to get the show on TV as an episode of the show,
right.
And then all that stuff's great. Kramer trying to audition for the role of Kramer, which the real Kramer did audition for the role, or the bus tours that he did. Like, all that stuff really happened. When George quit his job and then in a fit of rage and then just returned back on Monday because Kramer told him to. That happened to Larry David on Saturday Night Live. Like, he quit and then Kramer told him to just show up on Monday.
That's a good idea.
It's not bad.
Just act like
it worked. He said he worked there for another few years after that.
Yeah, what are they gonna say?
Yeah, they were like, "Didn't you quit?" Like, what that? Nah, I was just
painting a little bit.
Yeah.
That's classic.
Yeah, I think when we talked about most of these shows, we had that moment that stood out for me. Seinfeld, it's there isn't one. It's every episode is so great.
It's like I said, I could talk about 50, and you would laugh and be like, "Oh my god, that was a great episode." The meat slicer. That's one of my favorites, where he's got the new meat slicer and she wants to borrow it. Yeah,
I saw one the other day. It wasn't that one, but Jerry was in Florida, and he called Kramer, who was in his apartment with the meat slicer, and he's like, "Are you slicing meat?" And he said, "No," and he didn't have his shirt on. He said, "You got your shirt off, don't you?" No. I just love it.
Right. Man, that's just hysterical.
Yeah, I think that's probably the one show you can talk about for 3 straight hours and still be laughing as hard as you
can. I guarantee it, man. Newman was a great character.
Yeah.
I love that. The mail episode where Jerry delivers the mail.
Yeah.
I got fired.
Well, I watched one the other day. It was when... Newman wanted to go to the Super Bowl. Jerry had tickets to the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
And he comes in and asks for a ticket, and he just tells him no, and he keeps begging, and then finally he just
goes...
Did
you get the tickets from the dentist?
Yeah. But Newman on his way out, once he's like frustratingly been told no, he's just like, all right. But you know this and you know this well, Jim. He just went on to home. I love that stuff.
Who the dentist was? Brian Cranston.
Yeah, Brian Cranston. Yeah. Watley.
Yeah.
Tim Watley. There's probably 1,000 famous people before they were famous on that show.
Yeah, Seinfeld's got to be the top of everybody's list, man.
I would think so. Unless you're just not awesome.
True.
But luckily for you, we are.
Awesome. All right, I think that about does it.
Yeah.
We also have some other shows coming up soon, hopefully. Unnamed music show, unnamed comic book show, and hopefully we can get some other people involved in this, and we'll get a website up, and we'll get a bunch of videos posted, and hopefully you guys will like it.